guys, welcome back to the channel. In today's video I want to go over something that's pretty interesting if you are a Red owner or use Red cameras occasionally. And the thing I want to talk about is Red command syntax, Red command protocol syntax, the stuff that you use to control, the stuff that lets you control these Red cameras. Okay, so here we have the Red Raven camera that I've had since 2017, and today we're going to be learning how to use Python to control it via Wi-Fi. So the first thing you need to understand is what is the Red command protocol. Okay, so according to the documentation, the RCP or Red command protocol is the unified command protocol for use in all Red, Epic, and Scarlet cameras and all of the second generation digital stills and cinema, digital still and motion cameras, digital still and motion, what? Yes, regardless of sensor type. So the idea is that this is a human readable interface that you can use to send commands to the camera. And here we have the basic syntax. So it's basically an identifier to tell it it's coming from an external source. You give it a command and then you give it the value for that command. So the RCP is what we use to send commands over to the camera, but how do we actually get them over there? And that's where sockets come into play. Sockets are something that you use every day without knowing it. It's how computers establish connections between one client and a server. And what we have here is a basic example in Python where we import the socket module, and this line of code is always going to be the same. This is how we open that connection. So we have inet, which is IPv4, and stream, which tells it that it's TCP. So we add that to a Red cam variable, and now this becomes our camera object. So I know that this particular camera is already going to be on this IP address. That's why I have it set up here, but you can adjust it to whatever your camera is. And this is the port we're going to be connected to, which is always going to be 1111. And that's it. These two lines of code will get you connected to the camera. But what do you do once you're connected? This is where the Red command protocol comes in. So we're telling it that a command is coming from an external device, and then we're adding S, which means a set. ISO is the command we're going to be changing. 1280 is the value that we're sending over, and then this is just a separator and a new line that's telling it command is over. We added that to this variable. This line I had to add just because the camera kept spitting back some information where it needed a bytecode format, and this just does that for it. So here we just reference back to our original RedCam object and call the send all method and pass it the new ISO. Now that's basically it. You run this, it'll change your ISO. So the first thing we want to do before even trying this out is make sure that we can actually connect to the Red camera. So we're going to go into the menu system, go into settings, then we have to go into setup, communication, but we're going to go over to Wi-Fi. I already have it set up, but you only have two options. Ad hoc is what you use if you actually want to use the Raven or your Red camera as a hotspot. Infrastructure is what you want to use if you have a Wi-Fi router or something like that, where you're going to be connecting multiple cameras to for control. Right now we just need ad hoc because that's what we're doing. Here, this is the IP that I'm using. So with that said, we close it. The connection should already be established. Okay, so back on the computer, I'm just going to go ahead and run this line of code. And there we go, 6400. And then if I go ahead and I can change this back to something like 800, run the line of code again, and now we're at 800. And you saw that was very, very quick. So what else can you do? So that was ISO. This is another example for white balance, and right now the temperature on the camera is 5500K, and boom, there it goes, now 3200. If I want to change it back, I could just say 5500, and there we go, back to 5500. Okay, so in this example, I've added a few things that make it a little bit easier to run from the command line if you're going to be using frequently. The main thing I added here were some user inputs. So we have this input right here, which is the IP address, and then I've added this bit here because every time you send a command to the Red camera, it's going to spit something back out. It's the same way when you go to a website or anything like that on your computer. So this is just going to print out the information we get back and tell us that we're connected to it. In Python, as long as I use this try and accept block inside a while true loop, this will never stop, which is why I added this little bit of code right here where it says, look out for the words exit. So let me just run that real quick. And this is going to be example 2. So my IP address is 192.168.100.76. It connected. This is just some random information that the Raven happened to spit out at the time. These are the available ISOs. So how do I know these are available? I have the camera right in front of me, so I just wrote them down. But there are specific commands with the RCP that you could send to get available parameters. So in this case, it asks me which ISO, and I'll say 5000. And I'll put it, and you notice instantly the camera switches to 5000. I'll go ahead, 3200, it's 3200, 250. 1600, 3200, 12800, and then if I do 100, it's not going to do anything. If you send a command that's not compatible with what your camera can do, it's going to ignore it. It's just going to pretend you didn't send anything. This, as you saw, it was a very simple, very easy way. If I wanted to do something a little bit more elaborate, I do have another example. I used Kiwi to make this GUI. It says reconnect, but it's connect. And then I can go ahead and do the same thing. So here it changed to 800. ISO changes to 800, 6400. I could change things like white balance. But if you notice, this isn't updating with the settings that are currently in the camera. So that's just another thing you would add on. I just thought this was a fun way to sort of play around with it. But this also shows that there's a bunch of different things that you can do with this basic principle. So I'm going to link all the stuff in the description below. I hope that you enjoyed it. Leave a comment, and I will see you guys on the next video.